Hey y'all! Got an ER? Does anyone want to go to DAC? I have a CP friend there that can get us on flight. If those words meant absolutely nothing to you, congrats, you are in the right place. So what is the secret language of Disney? So if you're not familiar, I worked in Disney World as part of the Disney College program, so I basically lived and worked at Disney, kind of like an internship for 6 months. And in that time, Disney becomes your life and your being. And so everything that Disney cast members do that are full or part-time there, you just pick up on all of that. And because all Disney employees can go to the parks whenever they want and they are constantly working in the parks, it's just easier to shorten things up. So that is what the Disney secret language is. When I returned home from my Disney College program, one of the hardest things was adjusting back to using regular language, because this is basically a foreign language to anyone else, even though all your friends and everything down in Disney use it. But then when you return home, it literally is a foreign language and you just gotta adjust back to regular speaking. So this Disney lingo, or the secret language, has a lot of acronyms, has a lot of phrases, inside jokes, and then when you return home, you realize no one understands what you're saying. So whether you're a Disney person or not, here is Disney Lingo 101. So because I have a terrible memory, I made a list on my phone. Now again, this Disney Lingo is basically the language of Disney cast members, and I know if people are super into Disney, even if they don't work there, they also pick up on these terms just because they're there so much and Disney is their life. So the first thing to know about the Disney language is cast member. Now in the real world, a cast member is someone who usually works on a play or maybe a movie, but at Disney, a cast member is literally any employee at all. Doesn't matter if you're custodial, quick service, attractions, a performer in a parade, we're all cast members at Disney World. Another word that Disney cast members use is guest. Now in the real world, a guest is someone who comes over your house or goes to a hotel, but at Disney World, a guest is literally everyone who is considered a customer. It's just a nicer and more welcoming way to refer to the customers that come to Disney. There's also onstage and backstage, which in a play that would be obviously on stage and then like behind the curtain. But at Disney World, onstage is anywhere a guest can see you, and then backstage is anywhere that the guests cannot go at Disney. One of my favorite terms that Disney uses is costume, and that's because any uniform, no matter where you work or how you work, is considered a costume, and where you pick up your uniform is considered costuming. So I worked at Woody's Lunchbox in Toy Story Land, and my costume wasn't the cutest, but referring to it as a costume made it much more fun. Those are terms that are taught to you when you go to your traditions class, which is like your Disney company class where you learn about the company and you just learn that kind of thing. And that's the kind of terminology that you have to use if you're working. But there's also ones that people just make just to make their lives easier, and these are generally acronyms. So I broke this up into sections. So the first section is going to be people acronyms. Now I did the Disney College program, so I was a CP. And CP or DCP stands for College Program or Disney College Program. There's also ICP, which was the International College Program, so someone who does the college program that's from another country. Then there's CM, which stands for cast member, which again is any worker at Disney. There's also PT and FT, and these stand for part-time and full-time. Now the acronyms generally I think are used through text, so if you're texting, emailing, like on Facebook, people generally use the acronyms. They don't really say out loud. The only one I know people use out loud is CP and ICP. The next section is parks. So I worked at Disney World in Florida, so these names are specific to the Florida resort. And at Disney World in Florida, we have Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Disney Springs. So Animal Kingdom is referred to as DAC. And yes, people say this out loud. Because Disney Animal Kingdom is a very long phrase. Even Animal Kingdom, it's not that long, but it's so much easier to just say DAC. Now Magic Kingdom is MK. Epcot is actually just Epcot, which is great because if you didn't know, Epcot is actually already an acronym that stands for Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. Now Hollywood Studios has a few different names, but the ones that I have heard are Studios and DHS. So DHS stands for Disney Hollywood Studios, and then Studios obviously is just taking the Hollywood away, and everyone knows what you're talking about. And finally for parks, Springs is what you call Disney Springs. I almost forgot to mention the water parks at Disney. So there is Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon, and for those they're just referred to as Typhoon and Blizzard. Now the next section that I have is specific to working. So I don't have the lingo for places other than where I worked, which was Woody's Lunchbox in quick service. So these are specific to working in quick service. Now this term I know is not specific to just quick service. It's across the board at Disney, and that is ER. And no, this does not stand for emergency room. It actually stands for early release. Sometimes you're offered these, other times you put in a request for it, but basically what it is, it's just you get to leave work early. So if you ever hear a cast member saying ER, they're just happy to leave work early. Now, two other terms that are used are bump out and rotation. Now, bump out refers to when it's your time to leave your shift. So when someone says, oh, go to this person for their bump out, that means it's their time to dip from work. Now, rotation is just a fancy way of saying you're switching your position. Depending on your location, it's generally every 2 hours or so, and you can move from cash register to another position, and anyone that's working just gets moved around so everyone can do all the different positions and you're not stuck in one place. Now, probably the most fun secret language of Disney is what the rides are called for different people. So the ones I can think of on the top of my head are Splash, Tower, Slinky, and these refer to Splash Mountain, Tower of Terror, and Slinky Dog Dash. Like I briefly mentioned, the kind of Disney lingo that you use is dependent on where you work and the kind of people you hang out with. So I went on Instagram and I asked, what nicknames do you have for Disney rides, food places, etc.? And these are my responses. Disney. Thanks, Corey. Such a loving, supportive boyfriend. Fantasmic became just Fant after working it, so often the guests would get very confused. That's a great example of the Disney secret language. Although that's like your everyday life, like you call it that and everyone around you does, you realize like the outsiders are just like, what? Why? And my favorite response, shout out to my roommate from my Disney college program, Maddie, who worked in Galaxy's Edge, very cool. But she said, I have too many for this small response box. And oh man, did she not disappoint. So Maddie had a long list for me and I will read them to you. So she said Galaxy's Edge is BSO. Hollywood Studios is just studios or outer rim. So that goes back to specific location things. So she worked in Galaxy's Edge, aka Batuu, and so working there, she referred to it as outer rim because in her character, working in Batuu, that's just part of it. Rise of the Resistance is just Rise. Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run is Smuggies. Twilight Zone Tower of Terror is Tower, like I mentioned before. Rock and Roller Coaster is Rockin'. Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular is Epic. Muppets 3D is the backbone of Hollywood Studios. I absolutely love that example because literally anyone on the outside would be like, what? Now the only reason I know that it is called this is because of my two roommates that worked in Galaxy's Edge. So someone they work with refers to it as the backbone, and that's because they believe that it is the one thing that is holding Hollywood Studios together, and it's just always standing, it's always there, it's like an indoors thing. I love that example. Fantasmic is just Fant. Now any of the mountain rides, she says, so Space, Splash, Big Thunder, just add mountain after those and there you go, that's the name of the ride. Similarly, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is just called Seven Dwarfs. Flight of Passage is Flight. So this is a new one for me. I worked at Hollywood Studios, but this ride was not yet open, so this is a new ride. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway apparently is MMRR, pronounced Murr. Thank you, Maddie, for those very generous answers. The list of different Disney lingo goes on and on and on and on, and again, it's dependent on location. So any resort, for example, the Polynesian is called the Poly. Any ride, any quick service location, any restaurant, they all have nicknames and different lingo that Disney people use. And this is our secret language and how we communicate with each other. So if you hear crazy Disney people talking like this, this is what they are saying and this is what they mean. And if you don't know what something means, look it up. I'm sure you will find it. But I hope you learned a lot from this video. If there's something that you did learn, let me know down in the comments below. If you are a Disney person and you speak this secret language, what's something that I left out of this that you think people need to learn? Now, just to see if you really did learn something in this video, I'm gonna read this one more time to you and see if you understand it. Hey y'all, got an ER. Does anyone want to go to DAC? I have a CP friend who can get us on flight. If you understood that, congrats, you passed. If not, watch this video again and try to pick up on that lingo. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want more weekly Disney content, subscribe to my channel, Tiki T, and also hit that bell notification. That way you never miss a Tiki T video. See you in the next video. Bye!